let me just start with a brief opening to say how happy I am that we are open for summer here in Alberta. I believe that we've led Canada out of the worst of COVID-19, and now we are leading Canada in economic growth. Every major bank and think tank says that we have the strongest growth in the country, and this year, and they expect next year as well. It's exciting to see commodity prices like oil and gas recover. That means investment and jobs. It also means revenues for the Alberta government, which we desperately need. But it's even more exciting to see the diversification of our economy happening in all areas. We have, just today I came from a film studio in South Calgary where I announced that Canada's largest ever television production for a series is taking place in Alberta. HBO's blockbuster production called The Last of Us. We understand it's a $200 million a year production budget, and that is just part of nearly $1 billion of new investment in the film and television sector since Alberta's government created the Film and Television Tax Credit, a platform commitment, and a key part of our recovery plan. So we have, I think, 6 major productions going on in Alberta right now, and we've had over 90 productions since launching that policy. That's just one exciting example of the dynamic things happening in our economy. We are seeing unprecedented activity in our high-tech, digital, startup, and venture capital industries. They all work together, but many major global companies, including Indian global giants like Infosys and Mphasis, both choosing Calgary for their Canadian headquarters. RBC, Royal Bank of Canada, moving 300 high-paying tech jobs to their new innovation center here, and many more tech companies setting up shop here. I think we're going to start to see many of these downtown office towers start to get busy again with the new jobs that are coming on stream with tech and digital industry. We also see huge growth in the, as we've opened up from COVID in the service industry for all of those small restaurants and service companies, small businesses right across the province. This is the best year ever in the forestry industry. Last year was the second best year in history for our agriculture industry, and while we're having bad weather this year for the farmers, there's huge new investment coming into agricultural and food processing. Many new Canadians work in those sectors. I was just down in Lethbridge trying to convince a company that processes poultry to expand, and I met with their workforce. I would say nearly 100% of their workforce are new Canadians. So often that's the first job in the labor market, and that's really expanding in food processing, agribusinesses, and the like. Huge new industries coming here, like hydrogen. We landed the world's first net zero carbon emitting hydrogen facility. It's going to be built near Edmonton, $1.3 billion, and we are working on many more projects like that as we reduce carbon emissions to ensure that our oil and gas industry can get access to capital to grow. Hydrogen, carbon capture utilization and storage, and petrochemicals will all be part of that story. In other words, I am very optimistic. We've been through 16 brutally tough months, 4 or 5 really difficult years as an economy, but I really believe that we're getting our momentum back, and we want to make sure that new Canadians, the people that consume your ethnocultural media, are part of that prosperity. And that's Mohammed's job, working with Minister Copping. We will be hosting in September the Fairness for Newcomers Summit. This is something we committed to in the election campaign. It's a key part of the Fairness for Newcomers Action Plan, the first element of which was the adoption of the what's the law called?
Fair Registration Practices.
Fair Registration Practices Act that holds professional registration organizations to account to give newcomers a fair and fast process for certification for their foreign education and credentials. We will call together immigrants and these professional regulatory organizations to hold them to account at this Fairness for Newcomers Summit. We will give a voice to immigrants who have been frustrated, underemployed, or unemployed because they can't get their credentials here. But we will also give a platform to those who have succeeded, people like Minister Yassin, who managed to succeed here in Canada to provide a sense of hope and a roadmap for those who are struggling. We will bring together employers into that summit to encourage them to do what they can to upskill and hire newcomers at their skill level. And I'm really excited, looking forward to that. We will also be announcing at the summit, the Fairness for Newcomers Summit, new Alberta Advantage immigration strategy streams, new streams within the Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program. So stay tuned, big news coming up in about 6 weeks' time. So the recent increase in downtown Calgary office vacancy is, I think, connected to the mergers and acquisitions in the oil and gas companies that occurred about a year ago. And let's not forget that we weren't just dealing with a once-in-a-century pandemic, but also a once-in-a-century collapse of the world economy and the largest ever collapse in oil prices, which was devastating to the 20% of our economy that's connected to that industry. And so there were 3, 4, 5 months last year when our oil and gas companies were hemorrhaging cash. And coming out of that were some acquisitions. You know, for example, the takeover of Husky by Cenovus was the large one, but there were many others, and that meant thousands more layoffs in the oil and gas sector. That meant more vacant office space in downtown Calgary. But I think we've now reached the bottom end of that. I think the number is now going to start to go in the opposite direction, and I think what's going to drive that will be a couple of things. Yes, a recovery in oil and gas, gradually. We should start to see those companies hiring back. They're now in much stronger financial position, very strong prices. Secondly, this big boom in high tech, in digital. What I just mentioned, 1,000 jobs minimum from Infosys, 1,000 jobs minimum from Emphasis, both Indian tech companies, many, many, many more. They haven't even started hiring yet. So in the latter half of 2021, headed into 2022, you're going to see thousands of new tech jobs located in downtown Calgary starting to fill up those towers again. My last comment would be, we don't yet fully know how the modern workplace will have changed as we exit COVID. It may be that many companies decide that it's more efficient for their workforce to stay home part of the week. So there may be a shrinking footprint. So we will work with the City of Calgary to do what we can to bring that workforce back to downtown. The most important thing that Alberta's government can do, though, is to create the best overall economic conditions, which is why we cut taxes on businesses. We're cutting regulation on businesses. We created the Invest Alberta Agency. We have targeted incentives like film and television, petrochemical, and innovation for high tech. All of that together in the recovery plan, I think, will bring a lot more activity back.